if you're feeling anxious or if you are feeling like all levels of hope are just slipping away, I want you to know you're not alone. But the truth is, there is lightness in the dark. And today I'm going to talk about how to find it. Welcome to the Core Happiness Podcast. I'm your host, Kacee Banks, a mindset and positive psychology coach. On this podcast, we discuss all things related to creating happiness from within. So let's do it. Welcome back to the show. Today, I am tackling a topic that is a pretty big one, and that is anxiety and the feeling of hopelessness. Because let's be real, every time we turn on the news or scroll through social media or even step outside, we're hit with these stories of cruelty, division, hardship. And I mean, it is so easy to just feel like the world is falling apart. And I'm going to be going into the science behind anxiety and practical ways to manage it and cultivate hope. But I really want people to focus on that hope can be cultivated, even in the moments when it feels completely impossible. So take a deep breath with me and let's get into it. So when we think about anxiety in a chaotic world, first we have to realize what anxiety is. Okay. So I know a lot of people think that anxiety is just worrying too much, but it's not. It's actually a biological response. And our ancestors used it all the time because when they perceived danger, whether it was a real threat or a perceived threat or just overwhelming negativity, the amygdala, which is again our fight and flight response, kicks in. It floods our body with all these stress hormones like cortisol and adrenaline, and it keeps us on edge. It's supposed to keep us on edge, but it also makes things harder to think clearly and feel at peace. Now, again, our ancestors use this all the time because that's what they needed for survival. And it's supposed to be a rush and then it's supposed to go away. Now, when we are surrounded by all this negativity constantly, all day, every day, we don't have that decrease. We don't have where it comes down. And so we are constantly flooded with all these hormones of stress and anxiety. And that's where it becomes problematic. But here's the catch to that, because our brains are wired to focus on negative information than positive. And it's called negativity bias. That's also part of that survival mechanism when our ancestors had to watch out for danger. So when we think about the fight and flight response and we think about negativity bias, it's no wonder that we are all feeling like we just have so much chronic stress and anxiety and we don't know what to do with it. We don't have hope. So it's understandable, but let's break down what we can actually do about it, because there are things that we can do about it. First thing to do, and I know this is going to sound harder than it really is, but limit your exposure to negativity. Honestly. And I'm not saying to ignore reality. That's not what I'm saying at all. I'm just saying be mindful of your consumption of negativity. And we know that majority of the negativity is coming from media. So be mindful of how much you're paying attention to the news. Be mindful of what you're paying attention to with social media. And studies show us that overexposure to negative news, to negative situations, even just if your friends come over and they even want to talk about news, like even that exposure increases stress and anxiety. And so you have to set boundaries. Maybe limit your news intake to 10 minutes or take social media breaks. I know that I have a timer on my app where it's like, okay, I've been on Instagram or Facebook for 15 minutes. I need to shut it down. And that prevents me from going down the rabbit hole of negativity. The other thing you can do is curate. And I know I talked about this on a previous episode, but you can curate your social media. Really think about what do I want to see? What do I not want to see? You can go in and say, I want to see more of this. I want to see less than that. You can absolutely do that. And then that way, if you use those things in conjunction, so curate your social media and then also limit your news intake or maybe even sign up for just one of those news synopsis where it's just an email and it's like, I can read through it and you're like, okay, I'm up to date, I'm informed, but that's enough. So it's just about not ignoring it, not pretending like it doesn't exist, because we all know it does. And I understand that people want to stay informed, you want to stay engaged, and you should. By all means, you absolutely should. But just limit how much you are absorbing in a very small time frame. The next thing that we can do and that we can control is just engage in deep breathing. And I know people talk about deep breathing a lot, and then it seems like it's overhyped at this point, but I promise you it is so necessary. Because when we become anxious, our breaths become shallow, and that sends the stress signal to our brains. And the key way to counter this is by stimulating the vagus nerve, which runs through the middle of our chest. Okay. This plays such a crucial role in calming the nervous system. One thing you can try is the 4-7-8 breathing technique, which is when you inhale for 4 seconds, hold for 7, and then exhale for 8. That activates the parasympathetic nervous system, which signals your brain that you are safe, and that helps you relax. And I know whenever I talk about this, especially in coaching with my clients, what I hear is, yeah, breathing in for 4, fine. Holding for 7, great. Exhaling for 8, not going to happen. But here's the thing, it absolutely has to happen, and it can happen. The most important part of breathing techniques is that your exhale is longer than the inhale. When we talk about our breathing becomes shallow, it's shallow because we're constantly breathing in and we're not exhaling enough. We're not exhaling fully. You need to exhale longer than you are inhaling. One way that I tell my clients to do this is when you breathe in for 4, hold for 7. Then when you breathe out as though you're have a balloon. So, okay. So that way you're controlling the airflow, which helps you get to that 8. If you just breathe in for 4 and then you're never going to get to the 8. So make sure that you're piercing your lips together as though you are blowing up a balloon, and then exhale in that way so you can control your exhale. And that also helps with that vagus nerve and stimulating the parasympathetic nervous system to get you to calm down. So just focus on that. And then the other thing that we can do is just ground yourself. So anxiety can often pull us into that world of what if. It's constantly thinking about the future. It's constantly ruminating on what may or may not happen. And it is so easy to go down that slippery slope of, oh my gosh, what about this? And then this, and then this, and then this. But if you do a simple grounding exercise that helps to anchor you into the present moment so you don't get lost in the world of what ifs. One easy way to do this is the 5-4-3-2-1 method. It's super easy. All you do when you are truly feeling like flittery and fluttery and your brain just feels like it's just running and you're like, I don't know what to do. I just feel so anxious. Name 5 things that you can see in your immediate field of vision, 4 things you can touch, 3 things you can hear, 2 things you can smell, and 1 thing that you can taste. Go through that list. That brings your mind back to the present moment and out of those anxious spirals. Now, this is where the meat of this episode comes for me, is I want to talk about something that feels harder, which is finding hope. When we're surrounded by negativity, hope feels naive. It feels like we're just going with blind optimism, but it's not. Hope is about resilience. It's not about believing that one day we're just going to wake up and everything's going to feel great and it's going to be miraculous and it'll all be done and it's great. And that's what I'm hoping for. Hope is believing that even in the darkness, light still exists. Notice that I said that in the present tense, present terms. Light still exists in the here, in the now. Not one day, not hopefully maybe. It still exists. The trick here is that hope can be cultivated. And you might have to cultivate hope into your daily life. But the good news is, again, control what you can control. You can control this. You can cultivate hope into your daily life. The first thing to do is look for the good. Look for the good. Hope grows when we can see intentionally good, positive things. And you might have to seek it out, which is fine. But anything, just a random act of kindness can boost serotonin and oxytocin levels. So find something uplifting. Follow social media accounts that actually focus on goodness in the world. Read inspiring books. Listen to heartwarming podcasts or podcasts like this where it's all about positivity and love and growth. Seek out community groups or organizations that are making a difference in a way that you want to make a difference. And again, going back to that social media and curate things that make you smile, that make you laugh, things that you share with your friends. I want to see more of this. Engage with those accounts. So then based on how the algorithm works, you start to see more and more and more and more of those accounts. Focus, though, on curating a world for yourself that feels hopeful, that feels good, that is positive. And unfortunately, you are going to have to put more effort into it now than you would have had to before. That's just the reality of it. But you can still do it. It's out there. I'm going to say practice gratitude because I always say practice gratitude. And if you don't follow the Greater Good Science Center, definitely do. They're amazing. But they even had a study that they did that showed that gratitude rewires the brain to focus on positive experiences. So every night, if you write down 3 good things that happened to you, no matter how small, you rewire your brain to focus on more positive experiences. So the more positive experiences that happen in your day to day, you're going to pick up on easier because your brain is now rewired to look for the positive versus looking for the negative. And the next thing, which I know is also something that people tell me is very hard to do right now, you have to connect with community. Isolation fuels hopelessness. You have to surround yourself with people who uplift you, people who support you, even if it's an online community. I don't care. As long as it's a community, you have to surround yourself with social connections and resilience. That's the only way you're going to fight against stress. Don't isolate. I understand that when the world feels overwhelming and when it feels like it's just too much, the initial response is like, I just want to be alone. Like, everybody leave me alone. I'm going to go lock myself in my house and I'm going to binge watch Netflix and or Hulu or whatever. And I'm just going to take a break. And you know what? If you need to do that for a night or so, fine. But ongoing isolation, again, only fuels hopelessness. So don't stay there. Surround yourself with people who are positive, who make you feel good. And then, in the words of Martin Luther King, like, the only way to drive out hate is love. The only way to drive out darkness is light. Be the change. When the world feels incredibly cruel, ask yourself, how can I contribute to kindness today? How can I be the light today? And again, small acts, smiling at a stranger, donating, volunteering, the simplest things that we can do, each of us as individuals, not only shows ourselves that good exists and can exist and that we are a part of it, but it shows other people that good exists and it inspires them to be a part of it. And that's what we need. You can spread the light. I know that's what I try to do every single day. I try to spread light. And even if it only truly affects one person, more than enough for me. You can be the change. If you really look at our history, that's the only way anything has ever really changed, right? People who were hopeful, they wanted to be the change, they rose to the occasion, and they were the change in a positive way. Okay. So I want to bring this all together. How do we apply this in our day-to-day, starting right now? Is you start with one small action. That's it. Maybe it's cutting back on the negativity and taking a detox of social media. Maybe it's not watching the evening news. Maybe it is unsubscribing to certain things. Maybe the small thing that you do is you try the breathing technique, 4-7-8. Maybe simply looking for one good thing in your day, just one, so you can write it in your gratitude journal at night, is the small thing you do for that day. Whatever you do, doesn't matter, just as long as you try something, because all of those small steps will lead to a big shift. And please remember that no matter how dark the world may feel, you have the power to bring light. And hope is not about ignoring reality. It's about choosing to believe in something despite reality. If you can believe in it, if you can visualize it, and especially if you have the power to change it, you can change it. You can be the change, you can be the light. So here's my challenge for you, for myself, for all of us. Choose one thing from today's episode to put into practice. It could be setting that media boundary. It could be the gratitude. It could be reaching out to someone who needs support, volunteering. It could be just a loved one reaching out to someone and saying, I know times have been rough. How are you? I'm here if you want to talk. Whatever it is, know that every small action does build resilience, and most importantly, it builds hope. And if you need extra support, by all means, you can always talk to a professional. I am always a big proponent of that. If you genuinely feel like you're drowning in anxiety and stress and you just can't even try any of these, then always reach out to support. Always find a professional who can help you in that area, whether a therapist or a counselor or someone who can help. In addition to that, I do have additional support in the terms of grounding meditations and anxiety-reducing affirmations that are on the Core Happiness YouTube channel, which the link is going to be in the show notes. If this episode resonated with you at all, I would love for you to share it with someone who may need a little bit of a hopeful boost, or you can subscribe or like or comment. I read all the comments and I would love to hear from you. Remember that hope is still alive. So are you, meaning that you can change what you can change. You can be the light. Until next time, keep showing up, keep believing, and I'll see you in the next episode. Much love.